I said we'd be back, and didn't I deliver on that? If you are just tuning in, this is a Proshot podcast, and we are live for Season 2. I am your host, Tyler Rains, and usually I would have my two co-hosts with me, but they are not able to join me today. So, it is with great honor that I would finally bring you Season 2. Welcome back. It's been a long summer, hasn't it? Hope you've been enjoying it. I know we have. So, hockey season is just around the corner, and the Mississauga Steelheads have officially started their season, and it's about 2 weeks in. Now, we are going to cover weeks 1 and 2 in this episode, and those are the games against the Niagara Ice Dogs and Sudbury Wolves, and then in week 2, it was the Oshawa Generals and Barrie Colts. It is going to be such a great episode. We're looking forward to it. So, let's get started. Starting off with the home opener against the Niagara Ice Dogs. Now, we know it was a tough week for the Steelheads, but let's start with the pregame festivities. They were amazing. There was good food, great music, and it was just overall a lot of fun. Now let's get to the game, shall we? The puck drops. Adrenaline rises. PFF Center is rocking. This year's Steelheads team is already looking a lot better than it did last year. A ton of improvements came from players like James Hardy, whose skating greatly improved, and I'd honestly say he was one of the faster guys on the team this year. Cole Schwint, who's got way better hands, and Cal Christner, who is playing more physical, and other changes which we will dissect throughout the season. It is going to be a great one. So, now, onto the game. The Ice Dogs win the face-off, and 23 seconds into the game, Kai Sopa gets a juicy rebound off of a shot from Philip Tomasino. Kai Edmonds couldn't get across the crease to block the shot in time. It is 1-0 Ice Dogs. That goal was just unfortunate. It happens. 23 seconds in is not where you really want to be letting in goals, especially not if it is that early in the game. Now, I thought it was a good opportunity for Niagara. It's, again, one of those unfortunate goals that you can't really control getting there. Edmonds couldn't get there in time, and that just happens. So that's 1-0 Ice Dogs. The next goal would come a short while later from Nick Isaacson off of a rebound from Cole Schwint for his first on the season and the tying goal at 1-1. Now, see, this is something that the Steelheads have done well in this game. I will continue to say this throughout the episode. They have been getting good quality shots on net. Now, with this, the Schwint goal that came right off of Isaacson goal that came right off of Schwint. Now, I thought that was a great goal. You know, he was set up in the right position. Schwint shot it. Isaacson delivered right off the rebound. 1-1 for the tying goal. Loved it. Just under a little minute later, after the Steelheads tied the game, Kai Edmonds would make an unfortunate play where the puck hits the post, and Jonah DeSimone capitalizes on that opportunity and puts the puck in the net. 2-1 Niagara. Edmonds tried to play it. It was a bad bounce, and that happened. Now, there was a lot of pushing and shoving during the game. It was very physical, as we can see. 3 out of the 6 times Niagara versus Mississauga last year, the Ice Dogs took it, and Mississauga took the other half. So, during the course of the game, there was a lot of pushing and shoving. As these two teams are division rivals, you would have expected that. There were a few penalties in the games for both sides, but at 13 minutes into the second period, Oliver Castleman feeds Kai Sopa for his second of the game. At 13 minutes into the second, Niagara would win the game by a score of 3-1. Now, despite the loss, I thought that the Steelheads played very well. They managed to register 39 shots on goal and did not give up in the offensive zone at all. The only thing that really cost them the game was some bad bounces and just unfortunate opportunities. Played a very physical game, however, and they made very few mistakes. So that was the upside of the Steelheads. Plus, even if they didn't win this game, there's still a long season left to go. That's where it shall go. So the Steelheads had a great game, just couldn't find opportunities to score and put the puck in the net, and, well, bad bounces. On to Game 2. Sudbury rolls into town with an 0-2 record, and the Steelheads would look to get their first win after a disappointing playoff run last season. The game started off similar to last game with an early goal coming from Shane Belitka off of a pass from Blake Murray in the corner. Just as the period was about to end, Aiden Pruder banked a no-look pass from Cole Schwint, tying the game at 1. Now, that was a great pass from Schwint. He found Pruder in front of the net, and that is when the period came to a close. The Steelheads in that period would outshoot Sudbury 14-4, and that is how the first period would go. On to the second period, both teams would take their fair share of penalties until a 5-on-3 arises for Sudbury. The Wolves managed to capitalize on the power play as Shane Belitka sets up a cross-crease pass for Blake Murray to give them a 2-1 lead. The Steelheads had a couple of very good chances from Liam Hamm, Kean Washbrook, and Cole Schwindt, but could not slide them past a solid Christian Purbu, and that was the way that the second period went. They again played physical. There were a few penalties that were taken. I thought the second period was a little bit of a rougher one for the Steelheads, especially after, that second goal was scored. They got a lot more physical, and they never gave up on shooting. That is one thing that they just did well throughout the entire game, yet again, is just taking their shots on goal, and they just couldn't get them past Purbu, who was playing solid the entire game. And then the final goal would come from Quinton Byfield off of a cross-crease pass from Blake Murray to lift the Wolves over the Steelheads 3-1. So, as you can see, the first week didn't go according to plan, even though they went 0-2. The Steelheads did a tremendous job at taking shots on goal. They played very physical throughout their first two games, which I thought was a very big plus for them. And, well, they just have to keep taking shots and get them to the right opportunities for the puck to go into the net. Now, that was week 1. Now we're on to week 2. Chapter 2, Smash-A-Wah. Ah, yes, it's week 2. The time to look forward to more OHL hockey. This edition of Tales from the Pond begins with the Oshawa Generals. The game began with a tough goal from Alan McShane on the power play to make it 1-0. A short while later, Alan McShane scores his second of the game, 2-0 Generals, and near the end of the first, Giovanni Velati would take a 5-minute penalty plus a game misconduct for an illegal check to the head on Nicholas Canade, and the Steelheads would start the second period on a 5-on-3. As the second period starts, Kean Washbrook would score a power play goal. The game is 2-1. A few minutes later, a pass from Tyler Tullio ends up on the stick of Alan McShane for his second of the night, making it 3-1 Generals. Now, towards the end of the period, Duncan Penman would have a beautiful shot from the point on Andrew McLean to make it 3-2. 3 minutes after, Thomas Harley sets up Cole Schwindt for a beautiful one-timer in an impossible angle to tie the game at 3. And with 21 seconds left, Brett Newman passes it to Oliver Sooney, and he hits a one-timer to take a 4-3 lead for the Generals going into the third. Now, that second period was a lot of scoring, as you can probably tell. And I really thought that the Steelheads had the game under control in the second period. It was just a matter of getting the shots on net that they needed to get. They tied the game, and then with 20 seconds left, the Generals would take a 4-3 lead going into the third period. Now we're going on to the third. 3 minutes in, Cole Resnick feeds Brett Harrison, picks the corner to extend the lead to 5-3. Tyler Tullio would then follow it up with a breakaway goal, making it 6-3 Gens. James Hardy scores with 9 minutes in to make the game 6-4, and then Duncan Penman would get his second shot from the point and score to make it 6-5 for the final. Now, this is a very back-and-forth game. Obviously, Thomas Harley making his return from the Dallas Stars for training camp and played his first few preseason games. So, his return to the game tonight, and funny enough, this guy is an absolute trooper. So he landed at the airport at about 6 o'clock and still managed to play when the game started at 7. So here is what he had to say about his triumph getting back to Toronto.
Landed at 6, sprinted through customs, was stretching at the baggage claim, buzzed over here, got in about 6:40. Got just as fast as I could and hopped out there for the game.
Now, if you want to see the full interview, I'm going to link it in the description where you can see it on the Mississauga Steelheads YouTube channel if you want to see the full interview for that. Now, let's move on to the Barrie Colts. Now, this was a very rough game, I thought. But I thought at times they fell apart, and it was a game that nobody really wanted to talk about the day after. So, 56 seconds in, Ryan Suzuki scores a goal off of a turnover to make it 1-0 Colts. That was a rough goal. It's the goals that are a minute into the game that I think are really killing them, and that's something that you just need to kind of work on a little bit, and it's not really too much their fault. However, I think that those early goals, yet again, are the ones that are killing them. So the Steelheads will get a power play after Cole Cameron went to the box for delay of game, but they cannot convert. 7 minutes later, Nate Allenson scores off of a pass from Ryan Suzuki to make it 2-0 Colts. Near the end of the period, Tyson Forrester would extend the lead by scoring on a one-timer on the power play to put the Colts ahead 3-0. So after that first period, we saw 3 goals scored by Barrie, a power play opportunity for Mississauga, but they could not convert on that. That's something that the Mississauga Steelheads have not failed to impress with, is their conversion and their scoring on the power play. But, every so often you get power plays you can't score on, but they could not convert on this one, and it was 3-0 Colts. Now, in the second period, at 1 minute and 10 seconds in, Luke Bignell scores to make it 4-0 Colts. In the second period, at just 1 minute and 10 seconds in, Luke Bignell would score to make it 4-0 Colts. Right after that, at this point, there would be some tensions rising higher as the division rivals played each other again. So there were 2 fights between the Steelheads and the Colts in the second period alone, and one was between Nicholas Canati and Cam York. Those 2 would go off for their 5-minute penalty, and then Cian Washbrook would take an instigating penalty against Aiden Brown after standing up for Thomas Harley, who was hit by Brown as well. Now, the Steelheads have a 4-on-4. Richard Whitaker manages to tip a puck off of a shot from Liam Ham, and the Steelheads are on the board. With 4 minutes left in the second period, Thomas Harley winds up and rockets an absolute wrister bomb from the point to cut the lead in half 4-2. Now, in the second period, we saw a lot of tensions were high. There were penalties taken. There were fights. There were a couple of goals scored. And the Steelheads looked like they were going to get the game back. But now we go to the third period. Into the third, Tyson Forrester rips a shot past Kai Edmonds to put Barrie up 5-2 and earn his second of the game. Now, this was a tough one to watch. Shortly after his goal was scored, the Steelheads would earn a 5-on-3, and Cian Washbrook would convert, scoring to make it 5-3. Thomas Harley would take a slashing call against Matai Pekar, which would result in a goal from Jason Wilms to make it 6-3 for Barrie. And with less than 8 minutes left to go in the third period, Tyson Forrester scores again to make it his hat trick, and 7-3 Barrie. Now, this was a tough week. Within the dying seconds of the Oshawa game, the Steelheads almost tied it, but just couldn't get the puck in the back of the net. And, well, I thought they did a great job at outshooting their opponents through all 4 games. Even through the games against Barrie and Niagara, I thought that they maintained a physical presence. There were points in the game where you thought that they were really going to take back the game and maybe come back to win. But even if they are 0-4 on the season, don't let that bother you from the fact that there's still 64 more games. Nick Isaacson hopefully making his return to the lineup coming up soon after he was injured. So he's looking to get back into the lineup, and that will make a huge difference for the Steelheads. Coming up next week, we've got the Hamilton Bulldogs on Friday night. Be there at the game at 7 p.m. Eastern when it starts. And on Sunday, the Windsor Spitfires roll into town to verse the Steelheads. Steelheads still looking for a win here. No. And on Sunday at 2 p.m., the Windsor Spitfires will be here. There's a 2-game homestand going up. Be at the games, guys. This is going to be incredibly great. No, you can't say that again. Okay. Let me redo that whole take. Okay. So coming up next week, the Hamilton Bulldogs rolling into Mississauga on Friday night at 7 p.m. And on Sunday afternoon, the Windsor Spitfires coming into town at 2 p.m. And these are going to be great games. If you're able to go down, I would definitely recommend getting tickets to see these guys. And let's do this. 64 games left. They can turn this around. That's the game. Well, I hope you enjoyed weeks 1 and 2 of Tales from the Pond. I know it hasn't been easy. It's a little bit late coming up because we did have some technical difficulties with the recordings and with our upload schedule. However, we are going to do the best to get a new episode out on Sunday afternoon. And, well, this is going to be a good one, I think. We're really looking forward to the game against Hamilton and especially the game against Windsor. Those games taking place on Friday and Sunday. But we will try and get an episode out on Sunday for the new week, which will involve a recap of the games that happened this weekend. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you haven't already subscribed, please make sure to subscribe. If you like the video, give it a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. And we will be back for Tales from the Pond, Week 3, coming up.